Alright, so we're at it again, but you'll notice there's quite a few things missing from the front of the Land Rover. So the scope of what we're going to try and achieve here over the next couple of days is going to be to tidy up some of the wiring, because I want to use that as a breakout for some additional electrics and a fuse box I want to stick in the back of the Landy. There's also a bunch of power cables here at the moment which go from the batteries through. I've got a power unit here which sits underneath the cubby box. I want to move the remote from there for the diesel heater, which has been fitted. You can just see it back there. So that's been bolted in, but I've done a temporary fix with the wiring going through. And you can see it just kind of like scooches up over there and then goes straight to connect to the battery. And what I want to do, I'll show you in one of the later videos, is I've got a remote kind of like breakout box, which ideally I want to try and feed from one of these 60 amp fuses in here. So I've got one of the spare fuses, but like I've already said, at the moment there's no current, and I'm wondering whether it's just a bad earth. So I'm going to do a bit of investigation on that side of things, and I'll let you know how I get on. Okay, so this morning's job, got a bunch of tools to remove the headlining. It's coming out, and the plan is basically to, in here, run some LED uplights, which I'll show you in one of the later videos, just so it looks a little bit better with light in the back. So all of this headlining is coming out, and obviously the one benefit of all of this coming out is I can redo a bunch of electrics, which will hopefully look a lot tinier once I'm done. Okay, so I highly recommend getting a set of these. They just make life a hell of a lot easier. So here we go, nice and steady, out it pops, goes somewhere in the Land Rover. So just out of interest, I've got a reversing camera fitted on here, but I've taken the live feed from the lamp here and run it all the way through where it comes down there and then ends up over here, just where the reversing camera is. Absolute godsend. And what I've got up the front here is at the other part of the camera is, you can see the wire comes down over there, and then I've got the mirror which comes up with a picture. Genuinely really useful for picking up trailers and reversing into supermarket car parking spaces. So just to add a bit more clarity, obviously it's been a while since I've done it. I've actually got the 12 volt live feed connected to the main live that goes into there, and obviously that's the switchable part to the door, and this is the negative. Obviously that goes on the earth to the chassis. Headlining is out. You can see I've got some sound deadening foam and reflective, it's supposed to be thermal insulation on the top. I've got to be fair, it does make a bit of a difference, but it's a Land Rover and it leaks like hell, so there's only so much you can expect. There's a bunch of electrics in there, and it looks like a bit of a cat's nest, but let me try and explain them to you. So these two big cables here are for a power inverter which sits in the bottom of the cubby box, which I think I'm going to do away with because I simply don't use it. This is the wiring that was put in along with this kind of fuse nonsense here, I think, for what was supposed to be the heated seats, but the job never got finished. So that's coming out because I've just ordered a bunch of new stuff from eBay, a bunch of new wiring harnesses, which will be done in a later video. And then we've got this cable here, which connects to a battery management kind of little display screen, which I think I'm going to put up there. But you can see, I think the guy who owned this before me, this was probably his daily driver, so it looks like it was a bit of a rush job. So I'm going to take the time to reposition the wires, run it under the gearbox housing under there, pop it up underneath and put it in a nice tidy place so it's out of the way, because it just kind of hangs out the front of the cubby box at the moment and it just looks a bit crap. So yeah. Also, some interesting bits is having a look under here. So we have got a 60 amp fuse and a 30 amp fuse that are not connected to anything at the moment. So obviously they've still got power running to them and all the rest of stuff like that, but they've got no output. So kind of looking at this, one of them is a spare fuse and the other one is for the ABS, and obviously this is a TD5 and it doesn't, trust me, it does not have ABS. So I'm going to make use of those, and one of these will be for the breakout box. I'll probably take the 60 amp for the breakout box, which is going to go up the back over there somewhere for all the other ancillary electrics, and then I will take the 30 amp feed, which I will use for the heated seat harness, and I'll take my positive feed from there. So when that comes through, obviously that will be in a separate video, so yeah, watch in. So the one thing I forgot to mention was I haven't tested it yet, but I'm going to put a battery back in shortly and test whether these are permanently live, which I don't think they will be. I think they'll be ignition live, but we'll see. So because I was thinking about maybe connecting the diesel heater to one of these and running it through one of these fuses, even though it's got its own 10 amp fuse, which is, I think it's 10 amp. I think, there we go. What is it? Oh, it's a 20 amp fuse. So what I was thinking was, obviously that's a 30 amp fuse there. So that would be more than sufficient to wire it into that. But if these are not permanently live, which I don't think they will be, that means that it would be a pointless endeavour to connect the diesel heater to that, obviously, because when I park up and it's very chilly, I need to be able to have the diesel heater on, so that would mean it would need a permanent live connection. So I'll test and see whether these are ignition live. Alright, reaching the point of no return really. So we'll start snipping stuff off that we no longer want connected. Get rid of those. Thankfully it's still good wire, so we can still use it. Unnecessary in its current installation. Oh, there we go, didn't notice that before. Actually gone through. So I'm quite bad at this kind of recording as I'm going through things, but I've removed the soundproofing from both of the footwells so I can run the cables. I'm contemplating rerouting one of these so it pops out down here, so I can then run the cables under the housing and into the fuse box as required. But I'm also just about to disconnect that and find out what the hell's going on in here and what's needed and what's not, because there's quite a lot, but we're making progress. Okay, so there's been a few changes. You see the wires are coming back through here now. I've got a blanking plug over here, and I've managed to reroute the wires there, coming under, and then now coming through. Oh, get it. Need a bit of slack, but they're coming through there, so they're going to get attached to there. Going to drill a couple more holes and put the battery monitor, mount it there so I can actually see it and use it. Tidied up a couple of the cables, and I have put in a common earth bridge, which I was just kind of really starting to run out of these electrical connections here to bridge all the same kind of sockets and stuff like that. They're very good, and whilst I haven't installed this, I've kept all the wiring the same and just kind of tidied it up and tried to make it as best I can, as well as taking a bunch of unnecessary crap out of there as well. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it's taken me a bit of trial and error, but where are we? So we're looking at these accessory lamps over here, and basic circuit. So I've got one of these 3-pronged light switches, made in Taiwan. There we go there. So it's constantly live and lit. So just to test it. So I've never actually had these working properly. So whoever put them in, it clearly didn't work properly, but I don't know. It's taken me a little while to figure this out. Just trying to figure out because I couldn't find any wiring diagrams online. But here's the very basic wiring diagram. So if you've got any switches that look like this, that's what you're looking for with regards to it. Positive, negative, direct feed from the terminal. Then you've got your positive to your accessories, and then your negative going either to earth or running straight back to the battery. So I'm going to use that as a template to see how we get on. I said we'd come back here and have a look at this. So with the ignition on, okay, we're drawing a bit of power. I've got 11.64 volts there. So if I turn the ignition off, so it's not active, happy days. Just heard one of the solenoids go in there, so that's turning something off, but it's not turning these. So these are definitely still all live with the ignition off. So that's a bonus, because that means I can now run the fuse box that I'm going to remote to the back over there somewhere. I can run the fuse box off one of the spare fuses, and I can run so I'm going to run the fuse box off the spare one, and the air conditioning one is going to get used for the diesel heater, so that's a bonus. Okay, the morning's here, so we're going to make a start on that this morning. First thing I'm going to do is check underneath that whichever these two free pins are here, which ones they connect to up here, and make sure that I wire them in. More updates to follow. Okay, so got this, going to be obviously not using the connector itself because that's an 8-way and not what I need, but I'm going to be using the pins out of this to connect the main power and do what I need with it. A bit of a top trick, I've got some old curtain wire here, something I've been using for running the cables, which has enough rigidity to be able to get through most things, but it's also strong enough, let me just find the hole, to poke through most things without affecting it, you know, so you can pull the cable through. There we go, nice and easy, and then just tape the end of the cable to that. But I'll probably swap it around and do it the other way so I don't have to pull a whole length of cable through. So nice and easy. You've got these little blanking nipples on here, so rather than trying to force it through there, creating an additional hole, I can put it through this one, create its own seal with that, shove that through there, and then hopefully, where is it? There it is. I can find, oh, there we go, the curtain cable, and take the cable to that, pull it through. A lot of people waste a load of electrical tape doing this, so I'm just using some masking tape, and that should do the job nicely. Pull it through. I expect there to be a bit of resistance because it hasn't been lubed for half an hour, and then nice and gently, come on you bugger, give it a wiggle, and there you go. Main bonus about the masking tape is it's a hell of a lot easier to rip off than, there we go, we just take that off there, than electrical tape, and it doesn't leave a load of sticky residue. Okay, so got that going through there. I stupidly didn't order enough cable. I think I ordered, I think it was 3 meters, but it's not quite long enough. But I also got 3 meters of a black cable as well. So rather than let my OCD take over and order some new cable, I'll use some of this because I'm not going to use nowhere near as much as this as I am with the red. So I'm going to join the two together with a heat shrunk solder joint. So they'll be nice and tidy, and then I'm going to slip some red heat shrink over this as it connects to the fuse box over there, so it's quite apparent what it is. Okay, right, underneath the grotty part of the Land Rover, so what am I going to do with this? I think if I follow the fuel lines, so I can cable tie it to the brake pipe there, cable tie it to the fuel lines, feed it through there, hopefully that'll pop through there, up and over, and then feed it all the way around to the back. Oh, excuse me. And then, hopefully, all being well, we'll be able to feed it up into that back corner over there. Might have to make a new hole, or we might be able to use that existing one there you can see in the corner. Pop that up through, and that will go into the light cluster electrics, and it'll pop through there, so that's cool. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit of an awkward job, but I've loosely fitted the cable at the moment, run it up behind those Gwyn Lewis mud protectors for the electrics. Had to take the mud guard off, but you can see how it kind of runs at the moment, just loosely on the chassis, so I'll wire it all in, so work from the back to the front, so I've got as little loose cable as possible, and then I can secure it as I'm going along. Okay, right, so just playing with a bit of dry fitting in here at the moment, so that's going to go in there like that. Now, the orientation could go like that, but there's going to be limited room top and bottom to bring the cable through, so I think I'm going to go like that. Okay, so we're making a bit of progress now. The wire is coming through there, it's feeding into that middle one, covering that 60 amp fuse there, which is ideal. And then up the back there you can see we've got the mains cable coming through on the right hand side, the positive, which is coming from here that we've just had a look at. That's all fitted, got some grommets either side for letting the power through, and yeah, that's progress so far. We're getting there. This job is a bitch, by the way. Okay, so we're making progress. This obviously looks like Swiss cheese, but mains in, earth in through that big hole there, and then all the other earths through there, all the other positives top and bottom through there, depending on what kind of fuse rating they need to use. And I thought, right, I was thinking about running an earth to the chassis, but I thought, hang on a second, so I'll check, because that bolt there is actually quite close. It means I don't have to run a shed ton of cable. So I've just checked the earth between that and the chassis, and that's a good earth. So actually I'm going to run the earth from here through the chassis, through that bolt over there, and save on running loads of unnecessary cables. Okay, so we have fitted the battery. We've connected under the fuse box under there, a mains which runs up to that back fuse box over there. Now we actually have power going to this, and just coming in the back, obviously you can hear that thing, I've just tested that. Now these little USB chargers, that works, and that's all wired in. Quick look, so I've got the USB chargers running from the 5 amps at the top there. You've got their earths over here, and then we've got there was an inline 20 amp fuse with the diesel heater there. I decided it was pointless, because there's a 20 amp fuse here which is doing exactly the same job. So I've wired that up to the 20 amp over there, and as we've just seen, she's working like a treat. So I haven't blown anything up, but I still need to tidy some cables away. Okay, so I just test fitted the batteries and done all the wiring and all the rest of the stuff like that, so clean this out as well. But as you'll see in the next video, these are a pain in the arse, and stupidly I've already masked this up and connected this to this, so I'll have to disconnect that. But I'm going to feed those wires back through there, bring them through this hole instead, put that blanking plate there, because it gives me a bit more room at the back here, which you'll see once we get the batteries in. This negative terminal at the back is actually is quite pronounced, and where the seat metal cover goes on, it actually gets quite close, and I'm not that keen on it, so I want to shimmy it forward a couple of inches to prevent any arcing or anything along those lines. Okay, so they're back in. You can see, obviously, now I can move it forward quite considerably. I've gained, well, I suppose my ex-wife would say only an inch, but I reckon there's at least 2 there, maybe even 3. So being able to squeeze that up there obviously takes that further away, as you can see there, from actually touching the seat cover, because that's probably my main concern. Even though thankfully it's only a negative, so if anything it will earth, but yeah, a bit more room at the back there. I wonder what other things I can fit into there. And most importantly, this now works. They should both be in the green because they've both just come off a charge cycle. But let me see. Happy days. That solenoid down there is connecting both batteries, so you can see it's brought the other one up, and we're kicking out 12.4 between the 2 batteries. D-link those. Let's hack it. I'm chuffed to bits with that now. You can see, there we go, it's just de-linked them, and off it goes.